So as mentioned, thank you all so much for joining. My name is Jasmine Knighton. I'm one of the optimizers here at Vine Skills. I help folks get launched into Filevine as well as FVDA. We have a very special free help for you this week. We have partnered with Filevine to get you all of the info AI related. So hopefully you all came with a lot of great questions and you're going to see a lot of amazing things today. Just a few reminders before we kick off. If you all do have any questions, feel free to use that Q&A feature down at the bottom. We'll be monitoring that so that we can get any questions that you have answered. I will also be dropping some helpful links in the chat, so make sure that you look at that. If you all are interested in AI or implementing AI, maybe you have it and just haven't used it to its full capacity, we would love to help. Here at Vine Skills, we're a partner to Filevine, so we work in tandem with them. So if you're looking to get it added to your Filevine suite, we can connect you with these fine folks, or again, help you implement that kind of information. I will let Kendall kind of take it away from here. And again, we'll pop those items into the chat for you.
Jasmine, that was such a good intro. This is so exciting. Today is my favorite day because we're talking about AI and we're talking about it with Filevine, so it's such a good day. I'm going to share my screen and we're just going to jump right in. So let's talk about it. Future of AI. As Jasmine mentioned, this is your panel for today. Jasmine and I are with Vine Skills, and then we have Brandon, Alex, and Juliet. They're on the Filevine side, and they are powerhouses in Filevine AI. So I'm so glad that you guys are joining us. So today we're going to kind of just jump into this, but I'm going to let the Filevine team kind of take it from here on the next couple slides.
Awesome. Thanks, Kendall. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. We want to talk through a handful of AI products. We're going to focus really specifically on the AI suite inside of Filevine. There are other tools like Demands AI or Leads AI that we have that we're going to kind of push off to the side a little bit today and focus just on what you see directly in the Filevine app. We're going to do a couple of live demos, talk about some both current features as well as some very soon to come features. And so just kind of off the top, Projects AI is our AI suite that we offer here at Filevine. It is based on kind of a per project consumption model, so that when you have AI on a project, you have unlimited use of AI for that project for any of these features that you see below. We don't do page caps or anything like that. I probably should have put a slide in here for this, but I always like to frame discussions around our AI with a little bit of kind of our security and ethics ethos that we have around AI. So Filevine's tooling is all SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. So Filevine itself is SOC 2 Type 3 compliant now. We only work with AI vendors that are at least SOC 2 Type 2 or above. That's kind of industry leading in security profiles for these tools. We're not throwing anything over into like DeepSeek or into an open source Hugging Face model that you may have heard of. On top of that, we are fully HIPAA compliant with our AI tools. And most importantly, any AI vendor that we work with, and we have commercial agreements with all of them that contractually obligate them to the following, is that we never train external models on your data, nor is your data ever stored outside of Filevine. And so you don't ever have your data being stuck or stored in a third-party vendor that you don't have a relationship with. Everything is kind of running through Filevine systems, and we have these commercial agreements with any of the vendors that we work with to ensure that your data is safe. With that preamble out of the way, I'm going to kind of give a high-level run-through of these 5 features that we see here. Just so you don't hear me talking at you for like 40 minutes straight, I'm going to bring Brandon and Juliet in for some assistance on some of these. We're going to talk about some of the underlying technology that these features use, and then we'll circle back and do a little bit of a deeper dive on a couple of these feature sets. So AIFields is near and dear to my heart. That was Filevine's first real AI feature that we had. I can still kind of remember where and when we were hatching this up, and there was some work that was happening on a weekend, and I was texting back and forth with our CEO about this feature as we were kind of validating that, oh my goodness, this is actually a thing. And this was early in the Chat GPT, blowing up the world days. AIFields is intended to be a workflow embedded AI tool, in that your team shouldn't need to do anything new or additional to yield the benefits of artificial intelligence within your platform. Filevine, at its core, we try to be the single pane of glass, your one-stop shop where you can go to get whatever it is that you may need. And we don't want you hopping around and having to kind of piece things together, figure things out, have a bunch of integrations in different places. And so we try to have this holistic experience of case management, document management, time billing, and payments all together. And because case management and document management are together, we felt that really this workflow embedded tool was a great way to introduce users to AI in a very low stakes and beneficial way. So AIFields does a variety of things. Juliet, I don't know if you know off the top of your head how many prompts that we have publicly available right now.
I'd say it's something like 40, 45, might even be into the 50.
Yeah, so we've got 40 or 50 individual prompts, and each one of those prompts does some kind of specific action on the document that you uploaded. That could be creating a medical chronology out of out of a medical record. It could be extracting information from a police report, looking at contracts and pulling out things like the insurer and the policy limits and the date of the contract. There's a variety of things that we can do with that. And then it drops those pieces of information right into fields that you can set up in Filevine. And I'm probably going more in depth here than I necessarily should. So AIFields was kind of the core that we started much of this work with. AI Doc Review was a fast follow on AIFields, and this was being able to say, hey, I didn't drop this document into an AI field, but I still want to run an AI prompt against it. And so I want to be able to select my document, select the prompt that runs, and then give me a way to output that. This is accessed from your documents page within the project or the global documents page. And you can then select any of our available prompts based on the type of record that it is. And then you can get that output in a Word document or in a PDF. And we'll talk a little bit more about the differences between AIFields and AI Doc Review here in a few minutes. AI data mapping is an exciting feature that really has kind of had a slow release, but is now available to all AI customers. And this is the idea of taking data that we extract via AI and actually mapping it into your fields in Filevine. And this happens with medical chronologies in particular right now. And Julia, do we have the medical bills available for that as well currently?
We do, yeah. So we have bills, we have medical chronology, and we also have one for pay stubs for those that are outside of personal injury. I know that we're making available soon.
And
Awesome.
for those of you that are looking at the chat, I put in the link to the support page. So if you all want to kind of view the prompts that Filevine has available, they're always updating this. So feel free to pin that page if you are all AI.
Thank you, Jasmine. Yeah, so we've got 3 prompts that do this right now where it can put data from a document automatically into in a field in Filevine. And Juliet, I know we weren't going to demo that one. If I could ask you just kind of while we're talking, I'm going to have you see if you can queue up one of those just to show what it looks like maybe for Medcron, so we can give people a little bit of a visual. We can loop back to that, but since I'm surprising you with it, I want to give you a little bit of a heads up. So it's an exciting way to really leverage AI in a way where it is doing some of the work that your team normally would need to do. And it also creates a normalized data set that you can start reporting and searching across. And I'll come back to that when we dive a little bit deeper into these in a few minutes. ValidationAI is probably the best kept secret that we have for features at Filevine. It's something that we've really been doing a slow rollout just as we're getting user feedback on it. And really, so I like to back up here. We try to do a slow rollout with a lot of these features where there's high stakes involved, particularly with AI because it's very different than traditional engineering work. We want to get as much user feedback as we possibly can to see how people are using it and find ways that we can improve it as we go. And so we're not just kind of blasting things out and waiting to see what happens, particularly in high stakes areas. So ValidationAI is a tool that you can set up with natural language commands to dictate whether a phase should be able to be moved to or not. So, super easy example is should I be able to move to the treating phase if I don't have a, client is treating filled out in my project? And if there's no date for when treatment started or treatment ended, then I shouldn't be able to move into that phase next. And we would give you a message that says, hey, this isn't correct. You need to go back and fix this. Brandon, you were really, heavily involved in the work there. Is there anything you want to touch on here, or do you maybe we can circle back to that in the
Yeah,
later slides?
yeah. What I like about validation AI is it really gives you, it sort of ditches the traditional like rules engine to make sure, things are all set up right. You have the ability to make fields, required and things like that for when you need that sort of control over changing a phase. But this really gives you the opportunity to sort of define what those rules are, right? Hey, before something moves into this case, this needs to be filled out, this needs to be filled out. So it's something that's really helpful in that case to help prevent a lot of that rework if you accidentally change the phase at the wrong time. And something that we have a lot of cool improvements for in the future to really make it even easier to use. So
Cool. Thank you, Brandon. And then last but certainly not least, we have one of our newest features, and this is the ability inside of SidebarAI to have a conversation with your case. This is one of the things that we took a different approach to than we did with validation. Is we actually wanted to get this out to as many people early on as we could, so we could see how they were using it. Since it was a net new workflow, we were excited to kind of see the usage and how people were interacting with it. And we've seen just some incredible ways that people have used it that we'll touch on here in a few minutes. But really, SidebarAI at its core is having this a chat-based assistant that has the ability to converse with you, knowing everything about your case. So if you want to ask a question about the case, it has the ability to answer by referencing your notes, by referencing your documents in the project, and by referencing all of your custom fields that you have in the project, as well as all of your calendar events. Which we really think there isn't another platform out there that can offer a feature like this, because nobody else houses that entire ecosystem of data at the project level, or really in any case management system. And so, any client communications you have, whether it's via email or you've made a note using the activity feed, hopefully you're using the new feed component there to log your phone calls. If you haven't seen that or played with it yet, I definitely recommend doing so. Or it's a document that got dropped into the file, or it's a calendar entry. You can have chat with your case pull from any of those to answer your questions. And not only that, it now has the ability to kind of directly interrogate a document via chat. So instead of just saying, hey, I want to talk, tell me this X, Y, and Z about my medical records, you can actually pull up a specific record, attach it to it, and begin having a conversation just with that document. And we'll discuss more of this when we get into the live demo for it. But Kendall, if you can go to the next slide, I want to talk through a little bit of the kind of technology and differences behind chat with your case and how we do this. So traditional search is, when you're going into a search engine and you type in, tell me where the, search cancer as an example. And the way that traditional search works is it finds anything that has the word cancer in it, but nothing else. So it will find cancer and cancers and cancerous and precancer, because it all has cancer as a root word of that. But it doesn't know if you wanted to know about the client's cancer, but your client was diagnosed with a melanoma or a glioblastoma, because that's not the word that you searched for. The way that we handle AI, particularly with this conversational approach, is through a service called a vector-based search. You may have heard of this as semantic search. There's a few different names that this goes by. But it kind of all rests on this idea that instead of searching at a technical level, searching by the word, you are actually searching by what's called a vector. And a vector is essentially a numerical representation of a word. So, in very, very easy terms, I'm going to kind of step out of the cancer world here for a minute and do something happier. Let's say that you have a bunch of information about dogs, and you've got information about a lab, about a Doberman, about a Malamute, and anything. Those are all going to be grouped very closely together in the numerical system. So say, for example, dog in this numbered system is the number 3. Then Doberman will be 3.01. Great Dane would be 3.03. Dachshund might be 3.1. I'm making this up, but just as an example. And then when you do a search, you can say, okay, how far afield from my root word do I want results to pull back in? So now if I search, show me pictures of cute dogs, this vector embedding service is going to say, oh, cool, dogs, that's a 3. I want to pull back everything that's within 0.25 of that 3. So it pulls back Great Dane and it pulls back Doberman and everything else that's inside of that and gives it to you as a search result. The same thing can happen with everything else in your data ecosystem. So when we now search the word cancer in Filevine using Chat with Your Case, instead of searching cancer, we're actually searching a numerical representation of the word cancer to then go and find all of these other representations that are very close by to that. And one of the unique things, Kendall, if you can go to the next slide for me, is Filevine has we have trained our own embeddings model. So this little diamond that you see, that's the second hop in those 2 lines, the top lines there, that's the Filevine embedding model. And this is something that we have custom trained on medical and legal data. So it has a higher degree of understanding of your data. And when we're going and doing the semantic results or search results, if you have the word shot and the word shot in 2 records, one of them is an injection and one of them is a gunshot. Through our embeddings model, we're able to give the appropriate context to those numbers. So we know that those aren't, 2.1 and 2.1. Well, it's actually 2.1 and 74.5 because they're very different things, an injection and a gunshot, but they might be the same word. And so we run your query and your data both through this same embeddings model. So we're working in the same language to fetch this data and provide you those results. Hopefully I'm not going too far into this for folks and people aren't glazing over, but it's something we're very excited about here because it's what makes Filevine a little bit different in how we can operate on your data sets. For anybody who's played around or looked at things with any of these large language models, Google has, I think, a 2 million token context window. That means they can hold about 2 million words in their AI model's head when they're doing an action on it. Anthropic has 200,000. OpenAI has, it's either 128,000 or 132,000. I can't remember at the moment. But they've got these context windows that are quite large, hundreds of thousands of words. But most of your projects far exceed any of those numbers. So we can't just shove all of the information in your project into an LLM and ask questions about it there. We have to intelligently give it the right pieces of information through this whole data flow that I just described, where we say, oh, they're asking about this. That means we need to go get this record and this record and this record and this note and this custom data field. We're going to take those, we're going to put them into the LLM in a very kind of succinct way and be able to ask questions about those. So it's a long-winded way to kind of go through just what makes us a little bit different and why we're able to provide hopefully high accuracy and highly efficient and effective AI tools using this method. And the last thing I'll say on that topic is anybody who has put a lot of information into an LLM and asked questions about it, the detail really starts to fall off. So if you jam 190,000 tokens, you put a book into Anthropic and you ask it to summarize it, it's going to do a pretty good job on a high-level summary. It's not that hard to give someone the back of the page or the back of the book summary for what it might be. But if you want it to give you details about things that are happening throughout it or in the middle of it, where it really starts to get kind of squishy, if you will, it's not doing a very good job at that. And it's a lot like human memory and human recall. And that if you read a book, you tend to remember the beginning of it pretty well. You remember some really important highlights that happened during it, and you remember the end. But a lot of the detail and the story in the middle can get really, really kind of mushed together and hard to recall those details. The same thing happens with these AI models, which is why we try to really intelligently put small chunks of data in and action on those. So I'll take off my tweed jacket with my little elbow patches now and go out of professor mode and jump back into some cool Filevine features. But I always like to give that little lesson. I didn't see any attendees drop off either, so that's a good thing that I didn't bore anybody into leaving the webinar. So Kendall, if you can jump us ahead a slide, it should be back to the Projects AI slide again with these features. Fantastic. So AIFields, I think we covered pretty well. And I should say off the top, we're going to have time for a Q&A before we wrap up here. So if you have questions about any of these individual features that we didn't cover, we're happy to come back and talk through those at the end. But I think we covered AIFields pretty well. AI doc review is one that I want to have Juliet do a kind of a quick run through of a demo here, and maybe a little bit of the existing schema, Juliet, but more importantly, what's to come. And I'm happy to let you explain that, and I'll chime in when I can't help myself from chiming in.
Excellent. Hey, sounds great. Always chime-ins are absolutely welcome and encouraged. So I think I'm going to go ahead and request to share my screen. We'll get going with a little bit of a demo, and I'll talk through this feature first at a high level. I assume at this point, right, everyone can see my screen. However, it's a force of habit. I tend to ask. So excellent. I'm getting some nods and thumbs up. So we do have AIFields, right, which Alex spoke about just a little bit in terms of for AI tooling that's baked into your workflow, meaning when you upload a document and you have AIFields set up, we're going to go ahead and run AI automatically and every single time without exception once you upload that particular document. AIFields, we see a lot of use for things where the questions of a given document are always known and identified. You want to do the same thing every single time in a very kind of process-based way, meaning if I have a police report, and I always want to know a summary of that police report, AIFields, we definitely recommend for that. If you have a medical record and you want to get the same, 9, 10 data points extracted from that medical record, which we can show here in a moment if we want to talk about data mapping, there's also a tool for that. But when you have more specific questions or ad hoc needs, or you have, a deposition transcript that in the spur of the moment you're looking for an analysis, as opposed to having it run every single time, we have a tool called AI Doc Review inside Filevine. That's available in every single OCR document. You simply click on the document, and I'll show it here in just a moment. And then you can select, again, ad hoc, spur of the moment, right then and there from our pre-configured prompts, as well as what Alex said, coming soon, something that's currently in beta, the ability to define your own prompts. So I want to show a little bit of both there, but you'll notice I'm in the docs section. So I go to where my documents live in Filevine, and I single click on that document. And when I do that, and this is probably and hopefully a feature that's very familiar to all of you out there, it's one of my favorites. I see these purple sparkles, right? And I don't say that about absolutely everything, though I do like a lot of what we have. These purple sparkles show that AI Doc Review is available on this particular document. If you're not seeing it, it typically means that document has not yet been OCR'd, meaning if you drop a document in and right away you're eager to get prompting, we totally understand, but you may have to wait just a moment while OCR runs, and then you'll see these purple sparkles. So clicking on those sparkles reveals this panel on the side, this doc review, and it's asking me for a couple different choices. So first it's asking me what, and I'm going to ignore this. I know it's very tempting to jump into this section first. We will come back, I promise. It's very exciting. But right now it's asking me the document type right here from this dropdown. Basically, it's walking me through the process of picking the prompt that I want to run, picking the specific analysis type that I want to run on this given document. And you can kind of think about it as this assistant, or maybe it's your paralegal, or maybe it's, your case manager. It's somebody that you would typically and manually, and before AI, if you can imagine it, go to and say, I want some very specific information. I want a report. I want an analysis. Here is, the memo. Here is the motion. Here is the pleading. Here's the deposition in this case. Review it with a fine-tooth comb, look through everything, and get me back that report and put it on my desk by end of day. So it's that kind of tool. It is not, as opposed to the kind of sidebar functionality, which Brandon will demo and we're very excited about here in just a moment. It's not built in a way that it is synchronous, meaning it gets added to a queue, and although we do scale up these jobs so you can run multiple at a time and have AI finish, quite speedily and definitely faster than a human would, it is something where you're not going to get it back in a second, because it does take some time for the AI to review. Now, it doesn't take very long, meaning 3 to 4 seconds per page and getting faster all the time. But that said, if you're not seeing an instant result back in a click, don't, resist the urge to get a little bit impatient and just understand that is how this tool is built to happen asynchronously. So all that said, I'm going to select what document it is if I want to sort through these prompts, but I can also scroll down and kind of read them for myself. I'm going to say in this case, this one's a deposition. And as I'm scrolling here, this is maybe a good time. I know we talked about those 50 prompts that we have available out of the box in Filevine. You can see here all of the document types, all of the different types of documents that attorneys deal with, that legal folk deal with, and you can really handily see all of the prompts that we have available in a tool like this, as well as AIFields. So in this one, I'm going to go back up, and I'm going to go through all of these to deposition, and that instantly filters down the prompts that I have available for me for this document type. So I see here we have 3 prompts at this moment for deposition transcripts. We have identify inconsistencies. We have a summary with some red flag analysis, a little bit more in depth. And then we have a blanket summary. And I'm just going to go ahead and click the summary. At that point, once I've made my selection, it's going through and it's just telling me how, asking me, how do I want this delivered? Do I want a PDF, Word document? Those are my options for now. I give it a quick name. Let's say summary. That's basic enough. We'll keep it at that. And then I can select where I actually want it to live. So this is kind of that, put it on my desk by end of day, put it in my depositions folder by end of day, or certainly before in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit. And doing that will trigger the AI to start running. I get this nice little message over here on the left-hand side of my screen. For those of you that noticed it, I get this little alert that tells me it's in progress, and it'll tell me when it's finished as well. So I'll get a little notification there.
Julie, I want to jump in for a quick second.
Absolutely.
One thing too that I always try to harp on is OCR in this whole process. So OCR is the, for anybody who doesn't know, is the process of extracting text from a non-text based or non-text originated document. So a scan of a medical record. Everything we do in AI is reliant on that OCR technology. Everything we do, at least in what Juliet is showing here. And so if OCR hasn't finished, this tool isn't available to you. Or if it's a really, really, really bad copy of the document, results might be skewed. Handwriting often works. If you can read it, usually it will work if you're not having to like reconstruct it as you're reading through it and it's horrible doctor handwriting. But if it's relatively legible, it will usually work. And as long as the words are readable on page, usually everything will be good with it. But if you're ever seeing an issue, it's always great to go back and look and see, hey, this document is just, it's a scan of a scan of a scan. It's skewed, 40 degrees off to the side. Like, let's see if we can get a better version of this document to run through.
Definitely. And we have the ability in Filevine, there's an action to optimize a PDF that I would definitely suggest trying. But honestly, just clicking into the document and looking at it with human eyes, if there are any issues, is usually the easiest step to understanding and identifying those. I'll give an example, and this is not with AI Doc Review, but it happened in AIFields. We noticed that a police report, it wasn't returning, and we got back an error. And it was like, well, this is frustrating, but looking at the document, it was actually a cell phone photo that someone had taken, and it was rotated as well. So it's a little like, be a little cognizant of what you're submitting. If it is erroring, we have some retries built in, but at the end of the day, it's the quality of the data going in that will impact the quality of the data going out. And though we're improving it all the time, our handling of those things, definitely something to be cognizant of. And as I was talking just then, as we were kind of describing that, you notice that my summary finished processing. So we can go ahead and click to open that, and we'll get it again in the form of a PDF. That's what I selected. And we have citations available in that summary as well, automatic linking that takes me to that page of the source document of the deposition. So we can see in this case, typically about bullet points, I think is the output format you would expect for our deposition summary prompt. But there's a little bit of fun we can have with that in the DIY prompting, that custom prompting that I'll show here in just a moment. So we have here our report. Awesome, looks good. I say thanks to my AI assistant. I can go on my way for the day. And certainly, I can run back-to-back jobs. If I wanted to run all of those 3 analysis types on a deposition, combine them later, and that's kind of my study document that I review later, I have that ability as well. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this. Being cognizant on time, I definitely want to show one more thing in this doc review panel because I think it's very exciting. And as Alex hinted, this is something that's upcoming functionality, currently in beta. So if you do see it, you're one of the lucky folk. For sure, play around. Let us know what you think. If you're not seeing it, it will definitely be something we turn on for you all very, very soon. It is this panel to write a custom prompt. So very, very early into our Filevine AI journey, we really embrace the idea of guardrails and pre-configured prompts, out of the box functionality. And while we still absolutely believe there's value in that, we know that there's also equal value in being able to define the prompting and being able to ask specific questions. So if it's something that, in the 40 or 50 prompts that we offer, you're not noticing that we have the specific use case or scenario, you now have the ability to go in and write your own. So you can see here also the tabs for saved prompts allows me to write my own prompt, save it, and reuse it into the future. So if it's something that I need to do across multiple documents, I have that ability. I can also promote a prompt, which I'll show here in just a moment, to my organization. So I'm going to go back because I actually saved one in this particular case.
And Juliet, before you do that, one of the things, so you mentioned the reason we didn't do this originally is kind of putting the guardrails and safety measures around it. we didn't change stance there and decide, you know what, let's just YOLO this. And if I'm going
Go
to pull
off-road.
5-year-old references here for everybody's sake, I'm a dad, so that's what you're going to get. But we've found a way to really, manage and massage the prompts that you put into the system to put those safety rails around them that we had been putting around our own programmatically. And so now you're getting the benefit of all of this work that we have done to understand and really all the work that Juliet has done to engineer these prompts and to put them into a very stable and repeatable and effective place. But now you get to really define what you care about that comes out of those.
Excellent. Yes, love that.
A question that came in. Do they have to activate this AI feature? They have a lot of PDF documents in their files and none of them give them the AI feature. They do show that they're indexed and OCR'd is completed.
Yeah, so this is a paid feature. It is in addition to Filevine and to Docs Plus. This is a package that's called Projects AI. So if you are not seeing this feature or kind of any of the other AI features that we have, definitely recommend reaching out to your sales rep and or to your Vine Skills rep who can then connect you to the right person. If you have signed up for that, and there's not an easy way to see in the app, so it's best to check your contract. But if you have signed up and you're not seeing these, go through the same process because it's a matter of just getting it turned on and enabled for you.
And definitely want to jump in here too. Jasmine did include our emails, mine and Jasmine's emails. So if you don't know where to go, reach out to Jasmine and me, and we will point you in some kind of direction that'll be really helpful.
Excellent. Excellent. Appreciate that. And there is actually something that probably Brandon can show. I think he has a tip and a couple of tricks for figuring out if AI is enabled in your org. So maybe that's something we talk about when we get to Brandon, your piece. I know that was something that I felt like I saw with new eyes yesterday for the first time. So I know that our viewers will be eager to see that as well. So while we're in this space for defining your own prompt or writing your own prompt or DIY, any way you want to call it, I can type it, right? And then the AI can execute what I type. I simply click this option, and then I have the ability here, and you can see, I think it's 10,000 characters. So if we need to boost that limit, we can look into it. But for right now, you should have quite a bit of flexibility of wiggle room to go in and write your own prompt. We also have some suggestions here, which if I click those, we can see a little bit of how the prompting works. You can build onto those. You can save those yourself if you wanted to kind of take what we start and what we suggest and then build onto it. You absolutely have that ability. You can see list out people, find inconsistencies, some good basic ones just to get you guys started. But in this case, I do already, navigating back to this tab, have one that I have saved for today. So I have a deponent profile. Oh, and I actually want to click these 3 dots to see the prompt itself. I here define, I name the prompt, I give it a category, but I actually then wrote in all of this myself just minutes ago. So I need you to review this depo transcript, provide a good psychological profile, right? I want it to get rid of its extraction hat and put on a psychologist hat. Give me that psychological profile, focus on the deponent's tone, shifts in mood, behavioral cues that would suggest any kind of stress. I'm really looking for a very, very granular, detailed analysis from this. Identify specific examples from the transcript. If I wanted to add anything, let's say at the end, give me a TLDR, something like that. If I wanted to add anything in, I have that ability. So I have maybe a summary and then the super detailed analysis here. You'll notice this toggle allows me, maybe after running it a couple of times and I find out it's very valuable, I can promote it, I can share it with my organization so that Brandon and Alex, when they go back in and they get a deposition transcript, they have the ability to use this prompt as well. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it just to myself for now while we test it out. I'm gonna click save. And then from here, it looks like I already actually ran one here. So we're gonna go into the results, but allowing me to define my own prompt hopefully unlocks this in so many different ways for you all. I think we're getting a little bit of a message there. So definitely something, if you notice these things, if you have suggestions, this is still in beta, reach back out to us for sure. I'm going to open up my test that I ran using that psychological profile prompt. And I can see here, no stone unturned. It gives me back communication style evaluation, any signs of stress. Yes, it looks like, it identified some hot topic issues where there was a break requested, a lot of good details. And honestly, the sky's the limit. for something like this, for a tool like this, because it can extract details. It can go in and pull out all dates and get you a timeline, but it can also definitely be a lot more analytical, right? It can compare things. It can draw out details. It can make sort of assessments that me as a human, it might take me multiple reviews over a document to do that. So I know definitely we have a lot more to show. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. But yeah, very, very excited to get this out.
Actually,
Ready
Juliet,
for
before you
recall.
turn it back over, I think next piece up here would be data mapping.
Oh, excellent. Good reminder. Let's see. Hold on just a sec. I have that in one
So-
more tab.
Yeah, so while Juliet's switching over shares, this is kind of coming back to the idea of being able to extract, not only extract data from Filevine, but have it automatically put into Filevine fields. And Juliet, if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of voice over for just a minute. If you can get that AI Medcron section for us. So
Absolutely.
AIFields, we've uploaded a medical record. It's been OCR'd and it's gone through this extraction process. It's now automatically extracting all of this data for us. Each of these lines is a provider and date of service that was extracted from the medical record. Every piece of text in here is done via AI. There is no human in the loop for this. So this is a way to create this holistic picture across not only a single record, but if your client has treatment at 9 different facilities, 30 different providers, being able to pull all of that into one place and have a full top level view of what's happening that you can now sort by provider, by date, by diagnosis, by facility. You can have it sort or filter by any of those. For anybody who has used our collection section export tools, one of the favorites I see here is to set up an Excel export based on this. And that way, you can say, cool, we've got all of our meds in. I'm going to start doing some deep analysis on this. I want to pull that into Excel. I'm going to really have a great weekend of poring over these and figuring out what's going on or what we should do next. And the word that I mentioned earlier is this concept of normalization. And this is something that in Filevine has been kind of the bane of our existence for the last decade we've been in business. We let you all customize everything in Filevine. I'm sure there's a couple people on the call who are saying, well, not quite everything, but it's pretty darn close. And because we let you have kind of full reign over what you call and do with every one of these fields in Filevine, it's really hard to give any kind of holistic picture for you about your data set. The great thing here is AI is doing some normalization efforts for us now. So now not only for this client, Nancy Odell, do you have breakdowns for every provider and date of service, including the facility, reason for visit, diagnosis, treatment, medications, all this fun stuff. This is now happening for every one of your clients with the same data points being extracted in the same way. So you can now run a report, and Juliet's showing all of the different fields that we have in here. You can say, hey, I don't care about ICD codes. We can turn those off. But now you have a report that you could run that says, hey, I want to look at the AI meds section for every client or for every client tagged as X, Y, and Z and start to see, hey, especially if you're looking at kind of like a mass tort firm or something, which of these clients had Tylenol prescribed? Which of them had a cancer diagnosis? Which of them took Zofran? Being able to really start to get this holistic picture across all of your cases and go on this, hunting expedition that you never could really do before because you didn't have the data in the right format. So not only is there a ton of value inside of the project, it starts to really open up the doors for you for what you can do and search across all of your projects. And Juliet, sorry to steal the microphone from you, but I'll anything else that you'd
Please,
like
no,
to.
I never mind. I appreciate that, Alex. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you, Juliet. And so yeah, validation AI. Brandon, I don't know if you have a good place to demo that. Actually, we'll kind of put a pin in that to see how long it takes us to get through sidebar. But just I'll touch back on validation AI since we didn't spend a lot of time on it. And this is the concept again of being able to have rules put in place that dictate whether or not you can advance to a new phase. And so it's a way to really enforce SOPs. You can be very creative in how you want to do this. It's done via natural language processing. So you can say statute of limitations date must not be empty or must have a date, or the reason for that's not actually a real thing. The incident description must contain motor vehicle accident or talk about a motor vehicle accident. You can not only have it be yes or no things, but you can also start to do more semantic data around it, and it does a pretty darn good job of understanding values and things that you say it needs to be there or needs to include or needs to contain. So it's something that we could do an entire webinar just on different use cases for that. And it's a really exciting product for us, particularly for firms who are trying to kind of control the gates in their cases when they have auto tasks associated with them. So they're not inadvertently firing off task flows that you can't put back in the bottle.
Something else I just want to jump in on too, it's really good for reporting because you can report on phases. So it really helps teams like identify what phase they're in and report.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thanks, Kendall. And last but not least, I spent a lot of time myself talking about this already, so I don't want to spend too much more time myself talking about it, but this ability to have a conversation with your case in SidebarAI is something we're incredibly excited about. And Brandon, I'd love to throw the microphone over to you and the screen share and let you walk folks through both what we have today and give a little sneak peek into what's coming real soon.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks. So yeah, some of you may be familiar with Sidebar. It's our in-app chat application. And within Sidebar, you have access to our chat AI here. And you're able to select and go into the chat AI. We had added some things previously where you were able to ask questions about help desk. So you could ask how to use Filevine or about the activity feed. However, we have really boosted the functionality here so that Sidebar AI now knows not only about the activity feed, but calendars, as Alex was saying, all of my documents, and then my custom sections over here. So there are a couple of things like deadline chains that it's not going to understand the structure of the deadline chains, but my custom sections, it's going to have access to all of that as well. And Juliet had mentioned Sidebar AI does give you a little bit of a hint to know which version you're in. If you have the new chat with your case functionality, it's going to say I'm your AI assistant. If you don't have that enabled yet, and you have either you have the older version of Sidebar AI, or you have you're not a paid AI customer, when you go in here, it will introduce itself as Sidebar AI. So depending on how the AI introduces itself, it's just a little thing that you can see. So yeah, so I have here I'm in a case here already. That is one note that I want to point out is this functionality works when I am inside of an existing case. That's where it gets its context. One of the sneak peeks coming for later is we're going to have another way for you to alert the AI about which context you want it to have. But it depends on the project that you are in. So you're able to then ask a question. So right now, in this sort of view of my AI, this is asking about all of those parts of the case that I had brought up earlier. So in this view, this is going to be taking this question. It's going to be going through that flow that Alex showed you, and it is going to be looking for related information that might be in any of those parts of the case. It's going to give me an answer here. And just like Juliet showed earlier with citations, it's important for us that we provide an AI that you can trust but verify. And so there is these links that show, hey, this is where I got the information. So you're able to click on those. It's going to open in a new tab where it got that piece of information to answer that portion of the question. And so you'll see it loaded that there. And so that is that is sort of the standard view when you come in here and when you're in a project. However, we are able to add a document here. In fact, I can add multiple documents. And these is pulling these documents from within the project. So if they're already in the project, I can pull those. And then you'll see up here, it now shows me the documents that I have added. You can actually also do this with you can actually also do this with things in the activity feed as well. Clicking add to sidebar will then add that as well. Now, when I ask a question, if I have things that are added in here, then it is now going to answer based only on this. So this is going to be a little bit more focused. This is not asking all of my documents, all of the case information, all of the activity feed. This is really just taking information from these three sources, and then it is now asking this question. And so now I know that these things are based specifically off of those things. So this is a really great way if there is a longer document, or if you need specific information from a specific document, to be able to pull that up. One of the things that I personally, I just have to say, I'm very excited about this addition, is this sidebar window and this sidebar functionality. We are going to actually add into the doc preview screen. So when you open up a document, you will have the ability to chat with AI alongside the document. So that is one thing that I am very excited about. I hope that's what you meant, Alex, when we were talking about sneak peek. I hope I didn't blow anything here, but
How could no? Absolutely, that is where I was going with that, since it's so close.
yeah.
And there was
Yeah,
a
so
Alex already answered. I just want to, for visibility, if you have not activated AI on a project, can you still use AI sidebar in a project? And if AI is enabled in your org, then the answer is yes. Thank you.
And another great thing that I love about the sidebar functionality that I just want to point out, if it gives you a great answer and this is really helpful, I can turn that answer into a note or a task by clicking the button. It gives me these check marks here. I'm able to select the ones that I want, and then that will take those messages between me and the AI, and it will turn it into a note that then lives inside of my project. So now that answer and this information exists and is memorialized inside the project.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon. That is largely it from the Filevine demo side of the house. We've got a couple of other exciting AI products that we didn't cover today. And I forgot to even mention one of them at the top. We've got Deposition Copilot, which is our new kind of mid-deposition tool. There's going to be a Filevine hosted webinar for that before the end of this month. And then we also host an AMA session every week that you can sign up for here. And you'll have most of the three of us, myself, Brandon, and Juliet, on those, where you can come and ask any questions that you have about this chat with your case functionality that Brandon was just demoing. So we'd love to see you all there after you use the software, use the tooling, play around with it a little bit, and let us know what works, what doesn't work. If you have any questions or are looking for ways to improve how you're using it, we would love to be involved in those conversations.
Yeah, and those are about 30 minutes, and we try to take only 5 or 6 of those minutes and really leave the rest for questions. So those are really great opportunities for you. Try the tool, try some different questions, and then come, and the other great thing is we allow you to raise your hand and come on and ask a voice question as well. So really encourage participation in those, even just for knowledge share. So
Awesome. Thank you all so much. If there are any other questions that you all have, please leave them in the chat. We'll probably be on for another minute or so, so type quickly. We can always pass that information along as well. Thank you all so much to our friends at Filevine for joining us for this webinar and giving us a wealth of knowledge. I definitely learned some new stuff. Hopefully you all did as well. As I've mentioned before, we're a partner to Filevine, so we help in all things Filevine and Filevine related, either on the launch side, or if you've been in Filevine for a while and you're like, hey, I don't have AI, but I really want it and want to get it implemented, we can definitely help with that. So feel free to kind of reach out to us. I believe LeadDocket also has an AI functionality as well that we kind of didn't have a chance to go over today. So it's incorporated into a few products and we can help with all of that. Again, I left my email and Kendall's email in the chat. It's just our first names at vineskills.com. So if you do have any questions, again, or want to engage in any services, feel free to reach out. If not, thank you all so much for joining. And again, thanks to our Filevine friends for spreading your knowledge today.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.